Yo, it's the Gentleman's Game. Today, I'm going to be introducing a new series on this channel called Watch What She Does, Not What She Says. So the reason why I came up with this series is because I get a bunch of different questions asking for advice, and a lot of them will go into detail about their particular situation, but then when I read them, I find the same fundamental problem over and over again, being confused by a situation where her actions didn't match her words. Each episode this series, I'll be giving a story from a subscriber messaging me for advice, and I'll pinpoint his confusion of what she said versus what she did, then give some advice on the situation. Hopefully, you're able to learn from other people's experiences to avoid similar situations. So to start this series off, there's a concept you have to understand, and that is that every person in this world, whether you're a guy or girl, have at some point experienced cognitive dissonance. Now real quick, what is cognitive dissonance? Well, according to Merriam's dictionary, it's having inconsistent thoughts, beliefs, or attitudes, especially relating to behavioral decisions and attitude change. The scary thing about cognitive dissonance is that when most people experience an inconsistency with their words and actions, it's a very uncomfortable feeling. It's so uncomfortable, in fact, that people will subconsciously trick themselves into believing anything to remove the pain of cognitive dissonance. They'll rationalize to themselves that what they did wasn't wrong, that it wasn't contradicting their beliefs, even when it clearly is. Here's a famous example of cognitive dissonance. During the Korean War, 21 American soldiers were captured by the Chinese army. What's crazy was that almost all the soldiers chose to remain in Korea, openly siding with the enemy. Even the ones that returned home would praise the merits of communism. The family and friends of these soldiers were shocked, and media outlets at the time claimed the Chinese were using brainwashing techniques like hypnosis or drugs. However, the truth about how the Chinese got the American soldiers to renounce their ideals of democracy and capitalism was far simpler. They simply used cognitive dissonance against the Americans. For example, some of the Americans were offered extra food for writing simple pro-communist statements like "communism is wonderful" or "communism is the future." Most of the Americans were happy to oblige because this was way better than the torture they had anticipated. Then later on, the guards made the captives read the pro-communism statements that they wrote out loud to themselves. A couple of weeks later, the captives were asked to read the statements to their fellow prisoners, and to even engage in mock debates for why they believed their statements to be correct. Fresh fruit or sweets were offered to any soldier who wrote pro-communist essays for the camp newsletter. Once again, many of the prisoners were happy to oblige. Over time, as these soldiers performed more and more actions showing support for communism, eventually their belief systems started to change too. Because of cognitive dissonance, these soldiers developed real beliefs supporting communism, to rationalize to themselves their actions of writing pro-communist essays and statements. In fact, findings show that simply asking someone to perform a certain action over and over will affect their actual beliefs. If you make a person sing the national anthem over and over again, he's going to be more patriotic. If you make a child pray every morning, it'll be way likelier that he or she grows up religious. So, now that we know what cognitive dissonance is, let's segue into a question that one of my subs had. Since this is the first episode, I'll give you guys a really short one to give you a taste of what the series is going to be like. I'll go more into detail in the next episode of the series. Alright. Hey Gentleman's Game, last week I went on a date with an amazing woman. Everything was going great. We were having good conversation, I was flirting with her, I even almost kissed her, but I think she was too shy to actually let me have the kiss. At the end of the night, I walked her over to her apartment and I asked her if she wanted to see me again, and she said yes. But when I tried texting her the next day, she wouldn't respond. I've tried calling her a few times since then, but she's just been ignoring me or flaking on me. Why would she lie to me saying she'd see me again and then just give me the cold shoulder? I'm so confused. Okay, so first of all, I see a lot of comments like this, where a guy will feel like he had a good date, but then gets confused when the girl flakes. What I would say here is to pay attention to her body language, her actions, rather than just her words. This person said in his post that they were having good conversation and he was flirting with her, yet when he tried to kiss her, she didn't let him. If that's the case, chances are that he didn't build enough attraction for her to let him get that far. Many times, a woman won't want to reject you outright because she doesn't want to look rude. She might say stuff like, "Oh, I had a good time, let's meet up again," but end up not returning your text. I see so many guys get bitter about this, but seriously though, ask yourself, if a guy was pretty much confessing his love for a girl on the first date, was super eager to set the next date, even if she's not attracted to him, she probably wouldn't reject him outright either. There's a lot of pressure on her, so she might say something like, "Yeah, sure, I had fun, let's meet again," even though she has no intention of ever seeing him again. Again, cognitive dissonance. The biggest advice I can give is to not focus on whether the date is going well. Things don't have to be perfect. At the end of the day, the only question you should be asking yourself once you've decided she's the one you want to pursue is she attracted to me? When you meet enough women, you can tell if she's genuinely into you through things like body language and her facial expressions. And if a girl is genuinely into you, you won't have to worry about her ignoring your texts or calls. So again, stop focusing on the superficial, her words, and pay attention to how she's acting towards you to gauge how into you she really is. So to summarize, today we talked about cognitive dissonance, and I went over an example of it with a subscriber's question. I have a longer one that I'm going to expand on more for next episode, so make sure to subscribe so you don't miss that. And as always, peace.